everyone's excited. Why can't I feel the same?
The story begins with an 18-year-old Japanese boy named Katsumi Onoruki. After his parents were killed in a truck accident, he was left alone, and his grandmother rented him a small 2-room apartment so he could live close to his high school. He's your typical countryside kid. Nothing particularly special about him, except for the fact that his grandmother has money. His room is an absolute disaster. Seriously, his grandmother should pay him a visit just to see the state he's living in. After getting home one day, he spent some time on his laptop and eventually fell asleep. The next day came, and at school, as usual, he was bored. Bad jokes had become part of everyday life, and he had long gotten used to Brain, the class idiot. Brain had moved from America to Japan 10 years ago, and of course he had attitude. Being surrounded by Asian girls after coming from abroad must have given him a sense of power. After leaving school following yet another bad day, Katsumi noticed a flower pot by the side of the road. It was cracked and ugly, but the flower growing in it was one of the most beautiful he had ever seen. He bent down, wondering how something so beautiful could grow in such an unpleasant environment. At the same time, Corinne was fighting a giant rat.
Sleep now, gentle giant. Let peace take you.
After defeating it with her magic, she looked up, and what she saw shocked her. A gigantic head covered the entire sky. I think everyone is starting to realize what's going on here. Our protagonist enters his apartment, which, as usual, is a complete mess. This guy is unbelievable. His house is already full of trash, and now he's bringing things home from the street, too. It was only a matter of time before he found something strange. He placed the flower pot on his desk and left the door open. The question kept bothering him. How could such a beautiful flower grow in that kind of pot? He quickly went to a drawer where he knew he kept his magnifying glass, something he had bought with a small fortune from his grandmother's pension. He grabbed it and looked closer, and what he saw completely shocked him. An entire medieval civilization. The architecture looked like something out of a fairy tale. The colors were vivid, and the castle was breathtaking. It was a world where heroes were born and died every single day. One of those heroes was Kasparian. After his parents were killed by rats, he swore he would never forgive them and would eliminate every last one. Since then, he had trained relentlessly every day. After one of his training sessions, as he walked through the city, Corinne approached him and told him what she had seen. Kasparian, one of the few S-rank hunters, listened to her, but he assumed she had probably witnessed an illusion spell cast by an A-rank, or even S-rank. Back in our world, Katsumi was staring into the pot. He saw a gigantic rat, even bigger than the one Corinne had fought earlier. The villagers were trying to help the soldiers with whatever they could find, tools, pitchforks, but the rat seemed like it would claim many more victims before it fell. That's when Katsumi had an idea. He reached his hand into the pot. What the villagers saw in the next few seconds was a gigantic hand, like that of a god, covering the entire sun. With a single finger, the monster that had caused so much panic was crushed instantly. Everyone dropped to their knees at the sight of that miracle and began praying to the protagonist as if he were a god. That filled him with a strange sense of pride. After all, it's not every day you're admired like that, especially when you're just a high school senior who's been bullied your entire life. The next day, something unexpected happened. At school, Brain tried to make his usual stupid jokes, but this time, Katsumi stood up to him with confidence. He was determined to face him. Maybe the experience of saving an entire city and becoming a hero had changed something in him. Brain was shocked. For a moment, he was actually a little scared, but he couldn't show it. So he lunged at Katsumi, who responded with a right hook straight to his smug face. Meanwhile, in the other world, Kasparian was spending time with Bidi, the girl he tells everyone is his girlfriend, though she doesn't even know it. That night, Katsumi lay in bed, unable to understand what had happened. Where had that courage come from? How had he felt nothing when hitting someone? And how had he sent Brain to the hospital? After that punch, Brain ended up taking an ambulance ride, and he was someone who trained regularly. The next day, a strange desire took over Katsumi. He was walking with his bag, a smile on his face, even seeming a little taller. For the first time, he went to the gym, and the feeling was incredible. But when he looked in the mirror and took off his shirt, he was shocked. His muscles looked like he had been training for years and taking protein daily. He had the physique of a fighter. Even his eyes changed color. After staring at himself for a while, he took a shower, got dressed, and left. On the way, he kept thinking about how something had changed in him the moment he touched the pot. Then Roxanne appeared in front of him, one of the most beautiful girls in his high school. She thanked him for hitting Brain. "Why?" Katsumi asked. "Aren't you two together?" She explained that she had wanted to leave him for a long time, but Brain had threatened her. If she did, he would expose her most embarrassing secrets. That shocked Katsumi, but he chose not to ask more questions. After exchanging phone numbers, he went to an old bookstore to search for information about the pot, but the book he found seemed like nonsense. Later, at home, he started searching online, but he was interrupted by a phone call. It was Roxanne. She wanted to ask if he'd like to go out with her. They talked until late at night, and while it was time to sleep in his world, in the pot, a battle for life and death was taking place. A village near the capital was about to be attacked by rats, but Kasparian was nearby. There's a reason he's an S-rank hunter. Back in our world, Katsumi couldn't sleep, so he went into the other room to take another look at the pot.
Is that Betty the S-rank hunter?
She is so beautiful.
I heard she is Kasparian's girlfriend.
Who said that?
Oh man, she really is beautiful. But wait, why I can hear them? Huh?
The next day, chaos filled the world inside it. Kareen and all those who had seen the gigantic finger were gathered in the streets, praying and begging their god not to abandon them. Kareen was now worshipped as a goddess, because she had been the first to make contact with the god, right next to the tree of souls that stretched up to the sky. At that moment, Betty passed by, and when she saw her friend Kareen, she was left speechless. Kareen was on her knees, praying for her god to appear again and protect her and the villagers. Seriously, this guy showed himself twice, stuck a finger into a pot, and now he has his own religion? Our protagonist, wearing his ugliest sweater, made by his grandmother, looked into the pot and saw Kareen praying to him. Embarrassed, he looked away. Through the window, he noticed Kasparian arguing with the blacksmith, who looked ready to explode just thinking about how much effort he had put into forging that sword. Katsumi looked back and saw Kareen and Betty training. He watched for a bit, then lay down and fell asleep. After training, the girls went to a tavern to talk. Betty couldn't ignore what she had seen that day.
Okay, now tell me, what is with the public praying? I saw God. I saw him in the sky, I swear.
Oh, wow. Are you sure? Maybe it was just a S-rank wizard.
Impossible. That aura would make any S-rank wizard or hunter look like nothing. Believe me.
Is possible you saw a SS rank hunter? I hear that they can manipulate natural phenomena.
You don't understand! That was not a hunter! The people from the town saw him
Katsumi suddenly woke up, startled. He couldn't understand how he was able to hear and see their conversation, even when he wasn't looking into the pot. He went to the bathroom to wash his face, and before heading to the gym, he decided to take another look. This time, he didn't even need the magnifying glass anymore. He could see everything clearly. And this time, he really did it. Everyone saw his gigantic head in the sky. That aura couldn't be an illusion. The royal gossipers were talking about the king, and he heard them. The king decided to march with his army toward the direction of the gigantic head, even though he was terrified, while the gossipers kept doing what they did best. Katsumi realized what he had done. It seemed that even the smallest thing he did had a massive impact on those tiny people. In the forest, Kasparian, Kareen, and Betty were walking together. Kasparian heard something and signaled for silence. In the next moment, a massive number of rats appeared. Katsumi wanted to check if they were okay. After shocking them once again, he decided to put his finger into the pot one more time, just to see what would happen.
What the hell is that?
I told you! That is the god I saw!
This time, the entire kingdom panicked. Afraid that he might destroy everything, the king immediately ordered the archers and mages to attack the finger. To Katsumi, their attacks felt like nothing more than a light tickle, and the strangest part was that he felt like he was absorbing energy from them. The king was terrified. He tried to flee on horseback, ordering the archers and mages to buy time. He was certain this was the end. Corinne prayed intensely, begging Katsumi not to destroy the kingdom, saying, "We beg your forgiveness, mighty God." At that moment, the protagonist withdrew his hand. He couldn't stop thinking about how much harm and how much fear he could cause to those people without even trying. After leaving home on his way to the gym, Katsumi got a surprise. Roxanne was waiting for him along the road. Shy, her cheeks flushed red, she gathered the courage to confess her feelings. Her words made him feel a bit emotional too, but his mind was focused on one thing. A relationship would only complicate his life right now.
I really like you.
Sorry. You're cute, but I can't be with you.
After putting on his boxing gloves, Katsumi struck the punching bag with all his strength. A powerful gust of air burst out at the moment of impact, and the blow was so strong that it tore a hole straight through the bag. He was stunned by his own power. He couldn't believe that with a single punch, he had not only destroyed the bag, but also ruined his gloves. On his way home, he received a call. It was Roxanne. She explained that she truly liked him, and that her feelings had nothing to do with him saving her from Brain. They talked all the way until he reached home. The moment he arrived, our protagonist rushed straight to the flower pot. There, he saw Betty and Corinne fighting off rats.
Everywhere! Get them off me, Lyra! On it! Arcane spiral! Ha!
He watched them for 2 hours until something caught his attention. Something that had never happened before. A large panel suddenly appeared out of nowhere. It read, Status, Level 1 GOD. Power, 12. Agility, 10. Speed, 8. Fight experience, 1 fight, 20 experience. Below it, a progress bar showed 2100ths, reach 100 for level 2. Katsumi was completely shocked. That night, he could barely sleep. The next day, he began actively searching for bad guys to beat up. At one point, he came across a bald man wearing sunglasses, driving a luxury car with a muscular build, featured in a video explaining how poor everyone else is. Katsumi behaved as if it were his first time on the internet. He kept digging and eventually stumbled upon Epstein, but none of this information helped him at all. So after an entire day of pointless research, he decided to leave the house at night. He figured that if he wandered the streets long enough, it would be impossible not to run into trouble. Just as he was lost in his thoughts, he received a message. It was Roxanne again, practically begging him to talk to her. For Katsumi, it was starting to feel a bit awkward. Suddenly, he heard screams. 2 bald men were trying to snatch a woman's bag, while she cried out, "Thieves! Help! Thieves!" Katsumi didn't hesitate. He acted instantly, delivering a punch straight into one attacker's jaw. Dazed, the man tried to retaliate with a kick to Katsumi's head. Katsumi held himself back as much as he could, remembering how powerful his punch at the gym had been. It made him fear for others' lives. But seeing that the attacker refused to let go of the bag, he struck again. This time, the punch was devastating. It sent the bald man flying straight into a nearby wall, leaving a hole in it. Yet even then, the man held onto the bag until the very last moment. Witnessing this, the attacker's companion, who looked almost identical, disappeared without a trace. Katsumi returned the bag to the woman. Once the street cleared, a new notification appeared in front of him. Congratulations, you have completed the mission. You are now level 2 GOD, stats, power 20, agility 18, speed 15. BONUS, magic power plus 3. Progress 15 200ths, reach 200 for level 3. At the sight of the words bonus magic power, Katsumi felt a surge of excitement. Curious to see what he had gained, he pressed the information button without hesitation. A mirror-like panel appeared, displaying his reflection alongside the message. Bonus magic fists, martial arts understanding. You can now understand and copy martial arts techniques. It had been too successful a night, so he hurried home to end it there. But once he arrived, he decided to take one more look into the flower pot. There, it seemed Kasparian and Betty were having a conversation about him.
I am worried about Corin. Even though we saw the god, it could still just be an extremely powerful wizard we know nothing about.
To be honest, that's impossible. Corn is right. That thing was a god.
Betty was convinced there had to be an explanation, but Kasparian kept insisting that no one could produce such immense power with a single spell. Time passed, and Corinne eventually lost her patience and came looking for them. She scolded them, saying everyone was waiting and that they should return to the celebration. Meanwhile, deep within the forest, the Rat King was preparing his army. He spoke of how he had traveled across the world and told them about the Infinite Wall. He was incredibly powerful. Apparently, even he had needed an entire year just to climb the edge of the flower pot. He told his rats that humans had taken far too much space in such a small world. The next day, Corinne, who had now become a saint, was praying alongside her followers to the god in the sky. That day's chosen place of prayer was the Tree of Souls. At that very moment, the protagonist tried to take a look from afar, but half of his face became visible through the clouds. Corinne, overwhelmed with excitement, exclaimed, "Look, it's the god! He has answered our prayers!" Katsumi quickly withdrew. He needed to think of ways to level up. After finishing her prayers, Corinne returned home, where she sat at the table with the king, who we now learn is her father. He was worried. He had heard that his daughter had started a religion. Her response shocked him. She called him a madman who had raised his sword against a god. She said she had prayed for him and that her prayers had saved him from divine judgment. Their discussion lasted until evening. Meanwhile, Kasparian was at the tavern with the blacksmith.
I'm definitely not going out to pick up girls with you anymore.
At that moment, the Rat King could no longer hold back. He chose to attack. This time, not mere villages, but the capital itself, under the cover of night. Kasparian immediately sensed that something was wrong. The blacksmith, a former experienced adventurer, clenched his beer mug so tightly that it shattered. He understood at once. Many lives would be lost. Corinne the king felt it shortly after, but by then, the city was already in chaos. Thousands of rats, large and massive, had attacked the capital. Soldiers and mages had already begun a desperate fight for survival. Kasparian didn't hesitate. He mounted his horse and rode through the forest alongside his loyal companion. One thought kept echoing in his mind. This aura, it doesn't come from the rat army. It comes from a single being. The Rat King waited in the forest, radiating a dark aura. His goal was clear: to lure humanity's strongest hero into a one-on-one battle. The moment Kasparian arrived, the fight began instantly. After a night of relentless fighting, every last rat had been eliminated. But the king soon heard that Kasparian had not returned after heading into the forest. Furious, he ordered all the soldiers to search for him. In those moments, nothing else mattered to him, only finding humanity's greatest hero. When they finally found Kasparian's lifeless body, mourning spread throughout the entire capital. This wasn't just Kasparian's defeat at the hands of the Rat King. It was humanity's defeat against the rats. The news hit the blacksmith especially hard. Even as people were still cleaning up after the previous night's battle, what might have seemed like a victory was, in truth, a devastating loss. Using magic, they erected a statue in Kasparian's honor. It read, "In memory of Kasparian, the strongest and bravest hero of humanity. May his sacrifice never be forgotten." The next morning, just before heading to the gym, our protagonist glanced into the flower pot. He realized that if he had been there, he might have been able to do something. Overcome with sorrow, despite not having cried in many years, a single tear fell from his eye for the one called Kasparian. That tear dropped into the flower pot. The energy within it was so immense that it created a storm inside the miniature world. The people looked on in awe, whispering, "The god is crying!" Betty was completely shattered. The one she always claimed was not her lover had, in truth, been the most important person in her life. She felt as if everything had been taken from her. At the same time, she blamed Katsumi, believing that if he were a true god, he would never have allowed Kasparian to die. Later, Corinne, Betty, the blacksmith, several of Kasparian's lovers, and the king gathered around his coffin. The king appeared without his crown, as if he were nothing more than a grieving friend mourning another. That night, the Rat King stood at the Tree of Souls, examining the wound Kasparian had inflicted on him the night before, and the fact that it had not healed. He began to meditate, drawing upon the energy left behind by Katsumi's tear. After visiting her fallen friend, Betty went to the Adventurers Guild to take on a mission. But the moment she saw the mission board, she felt like she was losing her mind. C-rank mission, hunt 10 rats near the capital. B-rank mission, hunt 20 rats. A-rank mission, escort Allard's daughter to Krasnia. A simple bodyguard mission that required leaving the capital was already considered A-rank. At the sight of this, she snapped, "Where are the goblins? The dragons? The orcs? Is everything really just about these cursed rats? They've taken over everything." In a burst of rage, she struck the wooden board, punching a hole straight through it. Meanwhile, in our world, our protagonist sat on his phone. The thought that he couldn't do anything to help Kasparian weighed heavily on him, especially since, deep down, he had admired him from the moment he first saw him. Suddenly, someone called him. It was Roxanne. The exhaustion was already visible on his face whenever it came to her. Still, out of basic decency, he answered. To his surprise, it wasn't her. It was Brain. Remember that idiot? Yes, the one Katsumi put in the hospital with a single punch. It turned out the bastard had tied Roxanne to a chair and was calling Katsumi from her phone. He asked if Katsumi remembered him, then mocked him, calling him a loser. Panicked, Katsumi tried to beg Brain not to hurt her. But the idiot only said one thing. "Come tomorrow, Tsukahara Street, 9 p.m. Then he hung up. The moment the call ended, Katsumi bolted into a run, panic taking over. He had to reach Roxanne as fast as possible. While running, he gained momentum and jumped straight through the window, shattering it on impact. He found Roxanne crying, and she was extremely surprised to see him there. She threw her arms around him, and he told her it was too dangerous to leave her alone. They grabbed 2 jackets from her place and headed to his house. After Katsumi made sure she was safe, he let her sleep alone in the bed while he slept on the floor. The next morning, while he was in the bathroom, Roxanne woke up. Like any girl who finds herself in the home of the boy she likes, she began looking around. She discovered Katsumi's flower pot and tried to look inside it. But at that very moment, the protagonist appeared and stopped her. Surprised, she asked him why, telling him it looked like a very beautiful plant. Katsumi came up with a quick excuse and changed the subject, then walked her back home. On his way back, he was thinking about how, because of his actions, the people he cared about ended up suffering. Suddenly, a notification window appeared in front of him. System notification: you have completed the mission Save the Girl Who Loves You, plus 50 experience. Progress, 65 200ths. Katsumi was completely shocked. He realized that he didn't need to fight in order to gain experience. Could he level up just by doing good deeds in general? Back home, he decided to look into the flower pot again. There, he saw Betty still crying next to Kasparian's statue. He decided to encourage her a little.
Betty, I know your heart. I know you hate me now, but I love all of you here. Kasparian was a real hero.
As evening fell, Brain was talking to a bald man who clearly looked wealthy. The man handed him some red pills, telling him that with them, his injuries would disappear and he would gain enough power to defeat that strong kid. Meanwhile, Katsumi had already arrived at the meeting place. After waiting for an hour, he took out his phone and sent a message. "I'm here. Where are you, Brain?"
Have you been waiting long, Katsumi?
Looks like you've fallen pretty low.
Now filled with muscle, Brain threw a powerful punch, but Katsumi easily dodged it. In an instant, he struck him with a knee to the nose, then returned to the exact same spot he had been standing in. Brain was shocked. He didn't understand why his nose had suddenly started bleeding. Not even a second later, Brain collapsed unconscious, and the ambulance didn't take long to arrive and pick him up once again. At this point, he should probably be fined for wasting government fuel like that. The ambulance sped away at full speed, considering the condition Brain was in. At the same time, our protagonist was standing on top of a nearby building. Looking ahead, suddenly, a mysterious phone call surprised him. He answered, yes, Katsumi speaking. On the other end was a bald man, well-dressed, clearly very wealthy. He was wearing 2 watches, one on each wrist, trying to impress Brain. He introduced himself as Padrino. Right as Katsumi was speaking with Padrino, a notification appeared in front of him. System notification. You have defeated the class bully for the 2nd time, even after he became muscular. Bonus, 100 experience. Below it, a progress bar was visible, 165 200ths. Padrino was still on the phone, smiling. He made Katsumi an offer to meet and promised it wouldn't be for nothing. Katsumi's tone on the phone irritated him so much that he slammed his hand on the table, instantly cracking it. Clearly, this man was also very powerful. Katsumi, already on his way home, was surprised by another notification. System notification. You have fulfilled the condition. All-knowing God. You can now ask the system questions about the flower pot. Even though he was surprised, Katsumi didn't hesitate at all. He tapped the screen and asked, what rank did Kasparian have in the flower pot? What position was he in terms of strength? When he saw the details, he was shocked. Kasparian S rank hunter. Status, deceased. Rank, 7th in strength while alive. The closest human to reaching SS rank in the last 200 years. Master of all weapons. Power, 231, 320 when activating Thunder Aura. Agility, 210. Speed, 340. Magic power, 100. When he got home, he continued searching for information about the people he had seen in the flower pot universe. He tapped the screen again, and another window appeared. Betty, S rank hunter. Rank, 21. Power, 156. Speed, 200. Agility, 230. Magic power, 32. Special abilities, super evasion and attack. Then he searched for information about Corinne, the girl who admired him the most. Corinne, a plus rank hunter. Rank, 120. Power, 39. Speed, 40. Agility, 56. Magic power, 86. Special abilities, nature magic, fire magic, water magic. Specialized in nature magic. Then a thought came to his mind. He asked the system what rank he would have in the flower pot universe based on his current strength. A window appeared in front of him. Katsumi E rank hunter. Rank 345,121. Power 20. Agility 18. Speed 15. Magic 3. Special abilities. Understands martial arts. Below, it showed that he had no weapon mastery, knew no spells, and had no combat experience against E-rank monsters or higher. The message ended with, total trash. After seeing this, Katsumi put his hand on his head. He expected not to even be B rank, but E rank? In his world, that was already considered superhuman. But in the flower pot universe, the title total trash fit him better. The next day, following his grandmother's recipe, Katsumi made a soup. He ate as fast as he could and prepared to meet Padrino. But just before leaving, he decided to take one more look into the flower pot. The aura from the flower pot affected his eyes' color once again. This time, inside the pot, he saw Betty training a young boy who looked very similar to Kasparian.
You still have a long way to go to reach your father's level.
Katsumi immediately realized she was referring to Kasparian. The resemblance was too strong. Out of curiosity, and because he loved this function, he asked the system how many children Kasparian had. When he saw the number 18 on the screen, he was very surprised. He wanted to find out more, but the system denied him access. As evening fell, Padrino could be seen in a restaurant on an upper floor with large windows. He was sitting at a table, dressed elegantly, waiting for someone. It seemed the person he was waiting for was Katsumi. Katsumi arrived at the scheduled meeting. Padrino lit a cigar and smiled mechanically, without showing much emotion, then invited Katsumi to sit. Katsumi chose to sit right next to him. Normal people would sit at the other end of the table, but Katsumi sat right beside him, like a girl in love. It was clear he wasn't very good at reading the room. Padrino told him he wanted him to fight someone for him. Katsumi accepted instantly. Padrino was visibly shocked, but Katsumi showed no reaction. He gave him his bank account details for the advance payment and left. The entire meeting lasted no more than 5 minutes. Outside, about 200 meters away from the hotel he had just left. In front of another hotel, Katsumi noticed the arrogance of everyone in the wealthy area of the city. A bald, well-dressed man was calling the security guard poor. The area was full of luxury, stores, a dream for someone like him who didn't come from a rich family. Well, except for his grandmother. Katsumi felt his phone vibrate. When he saw the message, he couldn't help but smile. On the screen, $10,000 received from Padrino. On his way home, in a dark alley, 3 dangerous individuals were waiting for him. They tried to rob him, but within seconds, he put all of them on the ground. One of them, while running away, shouted, "Wait, Padrino sent us." Katsumi heard him immediately, but just to scare him, he chased him down and pretended he was about to hit him. The man repeated, "Wait, Padrino sent us." Hearing it a second time, Katsumi let him go. The bastard ran for his life. A few steps later, the protagonist remembered Roxanne and the window he had broken. He thought it would be nice of him to pay her back for it. He felt proud. This was definitely the first time he had so much money in his hands, especially money he earned himself. A short distance later, Katsumi opened the notification panel to check his level. A message appeared. "Congratulations, you have reached level 3, God." Below, the details were displayed. Power, 26. Agility, 22. Speed, 19. Magic, 5. Katsumi had also received a new skill. Mini lightning, range 2 meters, 190 volts. Below that, a progress bar showed 10 500ths. Reach 500 to advance to level 4. Since it was the first money he had ever earned, Katsumi decided to have a glass of whiskey for the first time. Surprisingly, his body handled it very well. Right then, a woman sat next to him and asked if he was drinking alone. "Yes," he replied. She introduced herself as Jinxy and invited him to sit at her table. It turned out it was actually her bar. Her beauty was overwhelming. Our protagonist had never seen a woman like her before. They started talking about all kinds of nonsense, and she mostly let him open up. She watched him closely and seemed to be falling for him, but he seemed to feel the same. Time passed. Glass after glass, Katsumi kept drinking until the alcohol finally started to take effect. Incredibly, his clumsiness was attractive to her. Seriously, where was all this luck coming from? The protagonist was this close to completely losing control right there. Jinxy was having the time of her life with him. She said that in all the years she had owned the bar, she had never met someone so young who could drink 2 liters of whiskey and still stay on his feet. After the second glass, Jinxy also began to open up a little. But Katsumi, after everything he drank, he was already on another planet. Jinxy started posting stories with him, even kissing him. After that, Katsumi left. In the next scene, we see him entering through his door. His condition was terrible, so he went straight to bed. Katsumi woke up panicked and filled with shame. In his mind, one thought kept repeating. Did I really kiss that woman? He quickly grabbed his phone, and the moment he saw the picture of himself and Jinxy, his jaw dropped in shock. He watched himself kissing her. And she had actually posted it. But the most worrying part was the number of views. 54,340 people had seen it. This girl was probably a superstar, or something like that. The first thing the protagonist thought of was to call Roxanne, but she rejected his call. Instead, she sent him a message. It simply said, "Why?" followed by a crying emoji. Katsumi was visibly stressed by the whole situation, and as if things weren't complicated enough, he received another message from an unknown number. "Your lips are like honey, and now I want more." The protagonist felt like he was going to explode from embarrassment. After calming down a little, Katsumi went to his flower pot to check on the tiny people. There, he saw Kasparian's son training intensely, while Betty was shouting at him. After that, the boy began meditating in a perfectly balanced position. Betty, standing in one hand, was telling him to move faster and reach B rank. That's when we find out his name. Iulius. When he heard B rank, our protagonist froze in shock. Wait a second, this kid is C rank and I'm only E rank. He shouted. System, what are the combat stats of Iulius, son of Kasparian? What he saw left him speechless. Iulius, C+ rank. Age, 12. Power, 41. Speed, 50. Agility, 54. Magic, 35. Abilities. Advanced Mana Control. Magic Slash. Zeus's Lightning, range, 40 meters, 760 volts. Weapon Mastery. Intermediate Swordsmanship. Overall power rank, 1674. It was a complete shock for Katsumi to realize that even a 12-year-old child was far stronger than him. In the Flower Pot universe, two great warriors returned from a long journey. News of Kasparian's death had spread everywhere, and they had come to pay their respects. After seeing him, they went out to patrol for a while. Their conversation revolved around a strange elixir that both of them were searching for. The blonde warrior, known as Golden Lion, invited the other to his tavern and suggested calling Kasparian's best friend as well. At the tavern, Golden Lion challenged Silver Eagle. He claimed he could outdrink him. Silver Eagle didn't hesitate. Angrily, he accepted. Shortly after, Golden Lion won. The blacksmith, smiling, raised his hand as the victor. Since Kasparian's death, he hadn't smiled once. Far away, the Rat King was climbing a mountain while a tornado of energy pressed down on him. He had to reach the top, no matter what. Using all his strength, he pushed his magical energy to withstand the pressure. And in the end, he made it. At the summit, he found the elixir that everyone had been searching for. Without hesitation, he brought it to his lips and began to drink. As he did, his aura intensified more and more, until it exploded. The energy became chaotic, extremely powerful. Even the Rat King was in immense pain. The wave of energy was so strong that it caused a massive explosion at the top of the mountain. That energy began spreading, even toward the capital, despite the great distance. People in the capital, panicked, running in every direction. Fear and despair were written on their faces. For the first time, a phenomenon from inside the flower pot could be seen with the naked eye from the outside world. Anyone could see the light, a clear sign that things were not looking good for those inside the flower pot. Meanwhile, Katsumi, like an irresponsible god, was with Padrino, watching a fight in an underground arena from the VIP area. Padrino asked him, while watching the fight, if he thought he could handle it. Katsumi stood up and said, "Tell your fighter to enter as soon as this match ends." The moment the fight ended, Katsumi stepped into the ring. When his opponent appeared, everyone believed it was the end for him. Even the referee looked visibly worried. He thought a match like this made no sense. But soon, he would realize he was wrong. A single punch from the protagonist sent the giant flying straight through the cage fence, crashing into the crowd. Up in the VIP section, Padrino's reaction was total shock. The referee, still stunned, raised Katsumi's hand, certain he had just witnessed a miracle. Padrino didn't even wait to meet Katsumi again. He ran, as if someone was trying to kill him, but that wasn't the reason. Just by looking at Katsumi, Padrino felt something he hadn't truly felt in a long time: fear. After entering a luxurious room, he began to tremble even more. He couldn't understand how what he had just seen was even possible. Padrino felt his phone vibrate. Panicked, he looked at it, sweat running down his face. The message was from Katsumi. The protagonist was asking if the fact that he had run away like that should be taken as a sign that he wasn't going to pay him. Padrino was too scared to respond. So instead, he sent the money. They had agreed on $20,000, but he sent $23,000 just to make sure there would be no problems. Outside, Katsumi, surrounded by beautiful women he had never seen in his entire life, smiled. He felt like a superstar. As he was heading home, a wake-up call to reality hit him. A notification appeared. You have defeated a man with the strength of a farmer, F rank, plus 120 experience. The fact that the system described that muscular man as nothing more than a simple farmer was unbelievable to him. His phone vibrated again. Someone was calling him. It was Roxanne. He hesitated for a moment, whether to answer or not, but in the end, he picked up. He apologized for not saying anything earlier. He truly didn't know what to say. On the other side of the phone, Roxanne was crying. She said that a lot had happened and that she didn't know what to do. He calmed her down, telling her that he would still protect her, that he would listen to her, and that nothing between them had changed. After that, she thanked him. Meanwhile, inside the flower pot, a very serious discussion was taking place. The king was speaking with several of his nobles, alongside Silver Eagle, Golden Lion Jr., and Golden Lion Sr. Golden Lion offered to go personally and investigate the area where the energy explosion had occurred. But the nobles were not sure about this idea. After Kasparian's death, losing another great warrior would be a disaster. The king respected Golden Lion's decision, but told him to take some of the knights trained by Silver Eagle and a mage. Meanwhile, Katsumi arrived home and went straight to the flower pot. It seemed he had arrived just in time to witness a real spectacle.
This is where we must go.
Sir, the forest is full of rats at this hour.
As long as I am here, not even 200 are a problem.
My wife is waiting for me at home. Quiet! Did you hear that? It seems we're in luck.
Golden Lion immediately sensed the approaching danger, and together with the knights, prepared for battle. Clearly, Golden Lion deserved his S-rank title. Curious as always, Katsumi asked the system about Golden Lion. The window displayed Golden Lion, S-rank hunter. Rank 10th in strength in the Flower Pot universe. Son of Golden Lion Sr., a noble who was once among the strongest S-rank hunters, but is now ranked 16th due to age. Age, 22. Abilities: Aura Slash. Super Speed. Heart Acceleration Boost passive. When close to defeat, gains plus 30 speed. Power, 215. Agility, 190. Speed, 245. Magic, 65. After reading the information, Katsumi decided to learn more about the Flower Pot universe. He put on his pajamas and, from his bed, began reading. He opened a window explaining that the ranks in the Flower universe are the same for both humans and monsters. The weakest is G rank and the strongest is SS rank. Anything below G rank is usually considered an insect or a small animal. Katsumi was fascinated by the fact that ordinary humans are G rank and that a farmer, through hard work, could even reach D rank. Then he read about knights and royal guards. He learned that a minimum of C rank is required, and for advanced royal guards, at least B rank. Then he asked the system if there were really only rats in the flower pot universe. Surprisingly, there were also zombies, orcs, trolls, werewolves, and many other creatures. It seemed that the rats had conquered many areas of the flower pot, but there were still regions where these creatures existed. When Katsumi asked how large the flower universe was, he was completely shocked. It turned out that in that world there were two celestial bodies, the sun and the moon, and the stars were nothing more than magical lights in the sky. In terms of usable surface area, the space available to humans and creatures in the flower universe was 3 times larger than Earth. This revelation truly shook him, and in that moment, he finally understood the responsibility that had fallen onto his shoulders. After so much research, our protagonist fell asleep. Meanwhile, the battle in the flower pot continued, and the knights were very close to victory. Golden Lion, in an explosion of aura, drew a large part of the rats toward himself, and the knights admired his power. Katsumi woke from his sleep. It seemed that once again he had been able to see the action in the flower pot, even while sleeping. This morning he didn't feel like going to the gym, so he decided to train at home. After training, he pulled a table close to the bed and decided that from today on, it would be better to always keep the flower pot nearby. On a notebook, he began to write down his training sessions. Then he decided to meditate, and a blue aura, extremely powerful, began to emanate from him and distort the surroundings. After 30 minutes, he got off the bed without even opening his eyes and walked toward the flower pot. A notification appeared in front of him. Congratulations, you have meditated for the first time, plus 200 experience, and below on a progress bar, it showed 330 out of 500. Reach 500 to unlock level 4 God. Something unexpected happened. Suddenly, the notification disappeared, and the protagonist felt an extremely powerful force enveloping him. In the following seconds, he looked toward the window, and what he saw shocked him completely. A massive portal had opened right at his window, and inside it, the cosmic space could be seen. Katsumi's shock was overwhelming. He wondered, could it be that by meditating I opened a black hole on Earth? In a fraction of a second, he was no longer in his apartment. Now he was floating somewhere in the universe, looking left and right in fear and shock. The place seemed utterly bizarre, and nothing made any sense. When he turned to the left, what he saw completely stunned him. He shouted, "Who are you?" A woman with a rabbit's head, seated on an extremely beautiful throne, was floating on a disc. Her cloak seemed to be the constellations themselves, and her presence was on a completely different level. Very calmly, she told him that she was a goddess from the multiverse, and that her name was Pookie. Then, without even warning the poor Katsumi, she opened a vortex and pulled him into it. An infinite number of hourglasses appeared from everywhere, and the protagonist was extremely frightened, but had no power to resist. She told him, "I am about to give you 0.5% of my knowledge, but even that will be painful at your level, so prepare yourself."